The night was thick with a suffocating silence, broken only by the faint hum of medical equipment and the soft shuffle of footsteps echoing down the sterile hospital corridors. As a nurse, I was accustomed to the eerie atmosphere that permeated the late hours, but nothing could prepare me for what awaited me that fateful night in the oncology ward. I had been reassigned to oncology, a place of both hope and despair, where life and death danced an intricate ballet every day. My task was simple, yet daunting: to provide comfort and care to those whose time on this earth was drawing to a close. Little did I know that I would soon be thrust into a chilling encounter that would haunt me for years to come. The patient I was assigned to that night lay motionless in her bed, her frail form barely visible beneath the thin hospital sheets. She had been unconscious for days, her body ravaged by the relentless advance of cancer. As I entered her room, a shiver ran down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I approached the bedside, my footsteps hesitant, and checked the monitors to ensure that she was stable. But as I turned to leave, a raspy voice pierced the silence, sending a cold wave of dread washing over me. "Don't let them take me." I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as I turned to face the source of the voice. It was the patient, her eyes wide open and filled with a primal fear that chilled me to the bone. In that moment, I knew that what I was about to witness was beyond the realm of medical explanation. Who is going to take you?" I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. "The black thing up there," she replied, her voice barely more than a hoarse whisper as she pointed a trembling finger towards the darkened corner of the room. I followed her gaze, my eyes straining to pierce the shadows that seemed to swirl and coalesce in the farthest reaches of the room. But there was nothing there, nothing but an oppressive darkness that seemed to press in on me from all sides. My mind raced, desperately searching for a rational explanation to cling to. But deep down, I knew that there was something truly sinister lurking in the shadows. With a trembling hand, I reached for the call button, summoning help to confront the unseen terror that gripped us both in its icy embrace. But before anyone could respond, a guttural moan filled the room, sending shivers down my spine. I turned back to the patient, only to find her eyes fixed on something unseen, a look of sheer terror etched upon her pallid face. And then, with a final agonized gasp, she fell silent, her eyes staring blankly into the abyss that loomed before her. The monitors flatlined, their incessant beeping replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. At that moment, I knew that I was not alone in the room. I could feel its presence. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggled to make sense of what I had just witnessed. I never told anybody in the ward what had happened. I thought it was best to let that experience remain secret, in hopes that one day the memory would fade away. But it never did. I remember the story well, as if it were etched into my memory. It was a story that sent shivers down my spine and left me questioning the boundaries of reality and the unknown. My friend, a nurse in the corridors of a neurology unit on the 5th floor of a hospital. Her name was Sarah, and she told me about an experience that chilled me to the core. It was a night like any other, with the dim glow of fluorescent lights casting eerie shadows across the sterile hallways. She stood by the front desk, her senses attuned to the subtle whispers of the night. But amidst the silence, a sound pierced through the stillness, the soft, plaintive cry of a child. She couldn't pinpoint the source of the cry, and then, as if summoned by some unseen force, a figure emerged from the front double doors and strode purposefully into an empty room. Sarah's instincts screamed with alarm as she watched the stranger enter as the door closed behind. Something about his demeanor, his silent passage into the empty room, gave her the creeps. Sarah followed into the room, her heart hammering against her ribcage with each step. But to her astonishment, the room was empty, devoid of any trace of the mysterious visitor. Confused, she retraced her steps to the double doors, her mind grappling with the inexplicable events that had unfolded before her. Yet as she flung open the doors, her eyes fell upon two other nurses engaged in conversation at the entrance. They swore that no one had passed through those doors, that they had stood there the entire time. But the nurse knew what she had seen, the stranger etched into her consciousness like a scar. It wasn't until her colleague returned from lunch that she found the courage to speak about her experience. With a heavy heart and trembling voice, she recounted the events, her words laden with the weight of disbelief. And it was then, in the hushed confines of the hospital corridors, that the truth unfurled. Her colleague's response sent a chill coursing through her veins, a cold realization settling like a heavy fog over her. "That's Malcolm," her colleague whispered. "He worked here a few years ago, but he was accused of molesting a child. He was certain he was about to be arrested, so he jumped out the window in that room over there. Some of us have seen him before. It's best if you keep quiet about it. Trust me." I used to work in a place for people who needed extra help, and one night something really strange happened. We had to move to a different building while ours was being fixed up, and it was kind of spooky being in a new place at night. So there I was, on my second shift, walking down the hallway when I saw John, one of the people who lived there, shuffling along. He always had this slow walk, and he was wearing his favorite yellow t-shirt with a big happy face on it. I knew right away something wasn't right, because John wasn't supposed to be wandering around by himself. He could swallow anything he got his hands on, from clothes to pens to belts, you name it. I hurried into the ward to tell the other staff that John had gotten out. We needed to find him fast before he got into any trouble. But when we went back out into the hallway, John was gone. We looked everywhere, outside, downstairs, in all the other rooms, but he was nowhere to be found. It was like he had vanished into thin air. We searched for less than 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. I was just about to call our boss to tell her we had lost someone, when out of nowhere, John appeared from the bathroom with one of the staff members. He had been in there the whole time, getting a bath. I was totally freaked out, because I could swear I had seen John in the hallway. I even described his walk and his shirt to the other staff, but they all thought I was making it up or going crazy. It was really frustrating because I knew what I saw. The next day, I found out the truth. It turns out John had a twin brother who looked exactly like him, but his brother had passed away 10 years ago in that very building. It sent shivers down my spine just thinking about it. I couldn't believe it. I had seen a ghost. It explained why I saw John in the hallway when he was actually in the bathroom. His brother's spirit must have been wandering around, trying to find his way back home. After that night, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see John's twin standing there. It was like the building was haunted by his presence, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. So if you ever find yourself in a strange place late at night, keep an eye out for things that go bump in the dark. You never know what might be lurking around the corner, especially in a place with as many secrets as that old building.